Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Clean Tech Water webinar to update you on the SPP details and answer questions. On the call today, we are joined by Interim CEO Peter Voigt, who will give a brief presentation before taking questions. We will answer your pre-submitted questions at the end of the presentation. However, there is a live Q&A facility available as well. If you would like to ask a question today, please use the written Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen at any time during the webinar. The company will endeavor to answer all of the questions in the permitted time. Any questions that are not answered on the webinar today will be followed up where possible. Some questions have been consolidated where they cover the same topic. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the CleanTech website in the coming days. I will now hand over to Peter to begin.
Thank you very much, Krista, for that introduction, and let me welcome those CleanTech shareholders who are on the webinar today. Obviously, today what we're trying to do is give you a little bit of an update on the company's visions and where we want to head, so you can make informed decisions about the current shareholder placement scheme that we have out. So firstly, let's go through the disclaimers that are always part of these webinars, as most of you would know, and get on then to the crux of the matter. So those of you who have been shareholders probably realise we've been around for a long time, 30 years in the industry. We probably rightly can claim to be one of the first of the clean tech companies since the clean tech, shall we say, market segment opened probably back in the 1990s. Over that journey, we've done many different things, but today we're looking at a slightly different version of cleantech as we pivot ourselves towards a company that has the innovation in technology that can serve what is now a growing trend, the thematic around the transition to renewable energy. So from a company that really in the past has been involved in design and construction of technologies, and in general, those technologies have been our own and in-house proprietary technologies. So we're moving ourselves towards how we can leverage those technologies into a larger marketplace and therefore accelerate our growth and accelerate long-term value for our shareholders. As you all know, we've always been a company that's been involved in continuous innovation. And as we move from continuous innovation through commercialisation, that change always takes time, and our shareholders have seen what we've done in the past. So what we're looking to do now is take some of these things a little bit faster through this, shall we say, business model, and take them to a new type of approach, which is around joint venturing and partnerships. But we also want to be sure that we're in markets which are growing and have good long strength. And the decarbonisation market is certainly one which we can look to for our future value. So what is this growth strategy we're talking about? It's all around how we can invest our technologies into market verticals which have this growth. And the ones that we've chosen and the ones we're working on are both the exposure to the lithium market. We want to have also exposure to the metals values through mining services market, and water is always going to be an integral part of the decarbonisation strategies. Our investments in our technologies allows us to play in these markets, but we want to work in these markets through a slightly different business model to what we have in the past. So what are we really bringing to each of these different areas? The base technology that we're looking at is our continuous ion exchange technology, which those who have been shareholders understand, I think, in the past. We have used in many different and varied, shall we say, applications. The ones that we're looking at today are going to be fresh water, mine tailings, and energy metals and lithium. Each one of these market verticals is both growing and exceptionally large. Our real aim is how do we find our place within these markets so that we can also grow as rapidly as these markets are going to grow over the next few years. We are privileged to be able to have these technologies in our portfolio These are technologies which no other company in the world really has. So from that perspective, that's both a great advantage, but we understand that it's also going to be somewhat of, shall we say, it's important for us to be able to promote these into players in these markets. And you can see there are big players in every one of these markets, and Cleantech needs to be able to join with some of these players in order to gain the value from the outcomes. So what are we doing in each of these markets? Lithium market, mine tailings market, or mine waste market is another way of putting it, and those freshwater markets. Each one of these is important in the decarbonisation. Each one of these is adding to the solutions that we need globally to overcome our problems with climate change. I'll start with the go to lithium. And in go to lithium, you would have been reading about what we've been doing in the past, but maybe I'll just reiterate on what that really means. We have now a joint venture with a company in Canada, which is a subsidiary of Ivanhoe Electric, which is a public listed company within the TSX. So we have Cleantech Water, which is partnering now with Computational Geosciences on a 50-50 basis. That has already gained a foothold within the lithium market in Canada. We already have a business strategy that allows us to gain equity in Lithium Bank, which is another TSX listed market, TSX listed on the market there. And we are working towards gaining up to 26% equity within Lithium Bank. Now, this is quite a different strategy to what we had in the past, which has been design and construct and actually sell a piece of kit. In this case, what we're doing is we're saying, no, our technology is very, very valuable, and our technology is able to gain us an equity share within another public listed company. And with that public listed company growing quickly, our value within that should also grow quickly. But why did this company actually think that Cleantech technology was worthy of being able to gain up to 25% of its value? And this slide here outlines that the application of our advanced continuous DLE technology, when applied to the Lithium Bank project, actually gave an uplift of over 600 million on the NPV value of that project. So we're not bringing technology per se to the fore here. It's value. So the values that we bring, right, are the real outcomes. The value is in both money, but also in the environmental benefits that we also bring along. So from the point of view of water use, energy use, we're right up there with the best of them in the world. And we're the only ones with continuous direct lithium extraction. We're getting a lot of inquiry from around the world with respect to can we use your technology in our lithium play? But we are going to be very, very choosy on who we work with. We want to only work with probably 3 or 4 plays in this area over the next couple of years. The next part is the mine tailings area, where our ATA technology is again global leading. ATA technology is a rapid dewatering technology, which can be used for mine tailings to help the miners look after what is at the moment an environmental disaster in many cases for many of them. You can see here the size of this marketplace. It's immense. Every year, 18 billion tonnes of tailings is deposited for miners globally. 18 billion tonnes. A small penetration into that market is obviously very, very valuable. The ATA technology allows us to play in this area and to take the tailings from copper, nickel, lead and zinc, gold, mineral sands, iron ore. All these mines have tailings. Tailings are a problem to the miners. If we can rapidly dewater those tailings and dry stack them, that's an immense gain for them. And so what we will be doing over the next 12 months is demonstrating the way this technology can provide relief to the miners so that their safety, environment concerns can be alleviated. I'll talk about that one a little bit later when I talk about some of the demonstrations we're doing at the moment. And of course, water is central to any of the energy transition areas. The nexus between energy and water is very, very tight. Fresh water is a real big problem globally. The amount of fresh water we have that's not polluted is 3%. And of that 3% on the Earth, only about 0.3% of that is actually available and ready to use. The rest is trapped in polar caps, etc. So what's happening is that fresh water is being contaminated, and that fresh water is then being disposed generally directly to the ocean or to rivers or to surfaces. But that water actually is minimally polluted in many cases and should be actually taken, treated and reused. That's where we want to play. We want to play in that reuse sector so that industry can reuse, agriculture can reuse. If we ask the industries and agriculturists to reuse their water, then that allows that water which is left, that fresh water, unpolluted fresh water, can be used for the use in which it was designed, and that is for people, for drinking water. And that's an area where our technologies, which you can see here, we've got quite a suite of technologies that can play in the area of desalination, in sulfate removal, nitrate removal, phosphate removal. We can even move into the PFAS removal areas if that becomes a very large industry, which we suspect it will. So what's happening at the moment within the company can be seen a little bit from this graph. The top of the graph is where we want to concentrate today, and that is what's really happening in the areas of our technologies, what's really happening with respect to mining, what's happening with respect to fresh water and to lithium. So some of these you see up the top there, I would like to talk about in a little while, but what is really, I guess, satisfying to us is that we are increasing our revenues year on year, and our penetration is becoming greater. If we can now focus our efforts into areas where margins are satisfactory and that we can gain the reputation for reliability and for having technologies which exceed the customer's expectations, that's where we want to be. So just a little bit about our recent news. There's been a little bit out lately, and I'd like to talk about each of these if I can, one-on-one. So number one is we actually did very well with our Laramba project, which was the uranium removal project that we did at the Laramba remote community. That project won both the Northern Territory and the Australian awards for innovation. And so that is a really great, shall we say, achievement for the people here at CleanTech. Both the design, the delivery, and the way in which that was done has been a pleasure. And so those sorts of projects are projects where we really feel as if we're contributing quite considerably to our community. A little bit more on some of the things that are a little bit more, shall we say, remote to Australia, but these are large projects in the making. So we're really doing a couple of pilot plants at the moment. One is in Belgium, and the other one is in Ireland. And these projects are for large multinationals. And the projects are demonstrating our technologies on wastewater for the removal of sulfates and nitrates. This is becoming quite a big issue in Europe, where these are being regulated and regulated quite heavily. The plant you see there is a fully automated pilot of a Celex plant that is currently being operated in Belgium. So these plants, once you move into these demonstration phases and into the engineering phases, you become locked into projects. And so these projects are well and truly moving down a phase towards a contractual outcome. This is another one that's becoming quite important to us, and that is in the rapid dewatering area using the ATA technology. We're already doing now projects in South Africa. We're doing some in Brazil, and we're doing some about to begin here in Australia. In South Africa, we've been working now for over 6 months with a large gold miner in South Africa, and we're now moving forward into large demonstration of the technology in gold mines in South Africa for stacking, for dry stacking. Within the Brazil area, we're looking at iron ore, and iron ore, as you know, in Brazil is a big issue. And we will also then be moving into a demonstration phase of the technology in Brazil in the not too distant future. And here in Australia, we're working with BHP in their Try Things Differently type program, and hope to have some results from that probably in the next 6 to 12 months. But again, having these programs of work show the miners exactly the technology, what can come out of this technology. And the real interesting part for us on the technology is that this is a simple technology. It's capital light, right? And it's affordable with respect to what the miners can pay per dry ton of material. So we expect that this will have quite a big impact in the area of tailings storage over the next decade. And again, this will be not a one-off type approach. This will be licensing and supply of chemistry. And that type of approach gives us annuity incomes. And we can estimate that from the point of view of a mine is putting through, say, 5 million tonnes per annum. And we can attain a value from that, which might be in the order of, say, 50 cents to $1. It's very easy to see what the annuity income stream can look like from a single mine. And as I said, 18 billion tonnes per annum is going into mine tailings storage facilities every year. So you don't have to have a huge penetration, but the outcomes can be quite valuable. People ask about pneumatic. Yes, and pneumatic is going through, shall we say, a very graded type approach to bringing it into commercialisation. And we're very pleased to say that finally we have been able to achieve a drinking water standard for the graphene membrane here in Australia. And that now allows this technology now to be used in drinking water applications. The water industry is very conservative around all these products. So while we have the certification, we now have to go through quite a deal of demonstration for these materials to be taken up. We will be looking for partnerships around the graphene membrane so that we can accelerate its introduction into the marketplace rather than trying to push it into the marketplace from Australia. So global partnering is probably what you're going to see with respect to the pneumatic graphene membrane in the near future. Let's talk about our lithium pilot plant in Canada. Here you see a very proud Jim Wall standing beside the plant. Jim is our senior process engineer in the hydromet area. And Jim is in Canada with one of our other process engineers right now doing the commissioning of this plant. So we expect to see some brines going through this plant probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So the outcomes from that, we can prove up the lithium recovery and prove up the strength of the alluate that we get off this plant. That will give us some very good indications of where this technology is going to take us as we go forward. And so I hope I've just given you a bit of a feel for what we're trying to do. We're trying to take our technologies, we want to embed them in businesses that can grow globally and rapidly. A little different to where we've been in the past, but I think we should be proud of the technologies that we have actually established. Now we have to find that way in which the rest of the world can actually pick up those technologies and value them. And on valuing them, then CleanTeQ itself should increase in value quite substantially. If one was to take the technologies that we have looked inside and look at the amount of investment that's been made and look at the value that these technologies can now deliver, I think that our share price would be very much seen as being, shall we say, not valued. So I hope that that's given you a little bit of insight into that. Just a bit of update on SPP. Again, this is what we're doing. There's some details there. I'm sure you're all quite well aware of this now, so I won't dwell on that. And finally, for those who wish to participate but haven't quite figured out how do I do that, then this is the page. It's on our website. If you go to that page, you can see the SPP information, participation, and of course, just follow the prompts. And so, thank you. Hopefully I didn't whip through that all too fast, but I'm sure that if there's things there that you would like to talk a little bit more about, I'm quite happy to discuss that. So thank you, Krista.
Thanks, Peter. We'll now move to the Q&A session of the webinar. I'd like to remind you now that if you wish to ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the time. But let's kick off first with some of the questions that we received in advance, as we know that may be top of mind for some of the people on the call. Please note that some questions have been consolidated if they covered the same topic, so your question might not be read word for word the way you submitted it. As a reminder, this is also being recorded and will be posted on the CleanTech website in the coming days. And if you're subscribed for updates, the link will be sent out to you through that portal. Okay, Peter, so the first question that we received was, what resources are the company allocating to the promotion of the pneumatic technology? And do you anticipate pursuing a similar model to our CDLE technologies and ATA rapid dewatering by partnering with larger participants in the market?
As I said in the talk there a minute ago, Krista, yes, that's one of the strategies we're going to look to use. I think it's really important to get the graphene membrane technology into the marketplace in a reasonable time frame. It's got a lot of benefits to offer water treatment and reuse markets. So if the partner provides assistance in getting this goal, then sharing benefits based on such an extremely large market, that's a very reasonable approach, I think.
Okay. Given some of the recently raised funds will be allocated to potentially building a second CDLE pilot plant, can the company indicate approximately how long construction would take and if it's already underway?
Yes, that's correct. We are going to allocate funds for a second pilot plant in the lithium market due to the amount of, shall we say, interest we have. And the recipient of that pilot plant is not decided yet until test work and negotiations have been undertaken further. And then there's several possibilities that we're working through over the next 6 months. With respect to the pilot plant, generally, we know what we're doing in this area, and it would take around about 4 months to construct. Also, within this area in lithium, one thing I did mention, and I should mention, is that we're quite active now in that DLE market to the extent where I'm presenting at both the London DLE conference in June and also to the Calgary DLE conference in July. There's plenty of interest around our continuous DLE technology that these conferences are requesting us to attend and talk about what we're doing. And at that conferences, we obviously meet and discuss with a lot of the lithium players globally.
Okay, so we have another question here, which is a bit around the style that you're taking moving forward. The company appears to have pivoted successfully away from a capital-intensive EPCM style business to one driven by partnerships. Does the company have any concerns that this model may take away ability for management to drive growth and profitability and place too much reliance on third parties?
Look, obviously that's something you have to consider at all times. Okay, so in terms of the way that you set the JVs up, etc., or the partnerships up, they must be able to return a significant value back to CleanTech, given that in most cases we're the heart of the projects. So we do take that under consideration. I must say, though, that probably over the next 12 months, we are going to be seeing a number of D&C contracts continue because we haven't not yet got to what I consider to be partnerships in the water side of our business. We're certainly going to be looking to achieve those. But with partners like Enva at the moment, Enva acts as our, shall we say, our global agent for a particular part in UK and in Ireland. So we'll be dealing directly through Enva with our final customer. So from that perspective, we're not sharing at the moment to the extent that we would in the DLE area where we have a 50-50 joint venture. So we're going to have a number of different ventures, all at different styles of maturity. But certainly the goal here is to share in a big pie. Make the pie big and then share is going to be the criteria under which we think about the way we go forward.
And in advance and also live, we're getting some more questions on the projects. So I'm going to read some, and they may be slightly consolidated again for people listening. Would you be able to give an update on your copper projects that might be ongoing?
Okay, so the copper project that we started with Kamoa-Kakula back in, I think it was probably 9 months ago now. So the first phase of that project we have finished, which is the looking around the flotation and looking at the increasing recoveries around flotation, and then also trying to remove more copper from the tailings. So the first stage, the flotation stage, we've finished that and reported on that. Look, the Kamoa-Kakula is such a huge project at the moment, and they are looking at increasing their throughputs day on day. I think just today or yesterday they announced that they're now up to 600,000 tonnes of materials. So looking at the tail end, the tailing side of Kamoa-Kakula at the moment is not quite, shall we say, top priority for that company. I would suggest over the next 6 to 12 months, we will then continue to engage with Kamoa over how do we help them recover the excess, or shall we say, the copper that is currently being lost to tails. Our ATA technology and our CleanX technology has a role to play in that. That's absolutely for sure. But I would suggest that look for more information on this coming out probably in the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Can you talk through the prospects and pipeline for the next 12 months and looking forward?
Yeah, I think that the pipeline is all around. I think I gave enough, shall we say, vision to say that we're going to be looking at quite a few projects in the water side with respect to warm wastewater treatment, nitrate phosphates, desalination, that there are several projects in that in the pipeline in that area, all of which are of significant value. I would suggest that they would be starting to come to fruition perhaps in the next 3 to 6 months. And so that pipeline looks quite good. We've also, though, got a whole heap of work we're doing on the commissioning and operation of our DLE plant in Canada. We've got also to identify those new assets in the lithium space. The participation with BHP's TAD program is important to us. We're supporting BEIE in China with a number of projects via our technical services agreements. So there's a lot of things happening in this space. What we have to do, of course, is make sure that we hit those ones that give us the value back. So I think that there'll be plenty of news coming in the next 12 months on projects and partnerships.
And can you talk through the IP protection that you have across your technology?
Right. So IP protection comes in several forms. Well, the most basic of those forms is obviously patents. So we have several patents in the areas of our continuous ion exchange, our ATA technology, our continuous exchange technologies with respect to lithium. So we do have quite a large portfolio of patents. The other area of protection that comes in know-how. So the people that we have here obviously are very, very important to how we deliver projects. So engineering aspects and in-house know-how is high on that list. All our designs are, of course, copyrighted. So that's also a protection mechanism. So we take that very seriously. How do we protect our IP without wishing to be overly, shall we say, doing so much that it causes problems with respect to cash. So we are, I think, cognizant of the fact that our value is in our IP. So hopefully I've kind of set it up around that.
Okay, and there's one here, Peter, that asks actually about you, and yeah, so your plans as CEO of the company.
Okay, so look, my plan is taking on the position of CEO of the company was to get the company into a space where it will have a slightly new direction and, shall we say, a slightly bigger vision of who it was and what it wanted to become. Once we settle down that vision and settle down our and we get some runs on the board, then it is obviously my time then to, I think, move aside and to bring in the new CEO. The new CEO, of course, has to have that vision and drive to continue. And so we're certainly not going to do that in, shall we say, a hurry. It has to happen in probably over the next 6 months. But we will certainly be. It's a high priority within the company.
Okay.
And by the way, it's not my intention to leave. It's my intention to make sure to give full support and to help all our young engineering staff that we have here. The knowledge base that we've gained over the past 30 years is really important to make sure that that's handed over correctly.
Thank you. And can you talk through some now technical questions around the SPP? So first one around the SPP is why should we participate in the SPP?
Well, number one is if you participate in the SPP, you are actually helping us with the capital we need to grow the future. Okay, so that to me is the number one priority. Are you seeing CleanTeQ as the sort of company that you would like to see become successful in the world today? Look, we are one of the very first companies globally that has put the two E's, the environment and the economic, together, and we've been talking about that for 30 years. So we are shall we say, one of the stalwarts of this area. The things we are doing are very beneficial going forward to, I'd almost say, humanity for this world. Fresh water and renewables are where we have to go in the next 20 years. And CleanTeQ has got a lot of IP that can help from that perspective. You can go on the market, I suppose, and buy, but I don't think you're going to be able to buy too many shares before the price jumps up. So that would be my view. We're giving, I think, the shares that are available to you at the right price at the moment. They come with an added incentive of some options, and so I think the value is there.
And the options that come along with the SPP, will they be listed?
Look, there are some terms and conditions around that, and that is within the prospectus itself. So we will have to wait until the end of the SPP to see whether or not they are listed or not. It's got to do with the number of participants.
Okay. How long will you be funded for with the successful SPP?
With this placement in SPP, we are definitely looking to get through the next 18 months. It really is going to depend on some of the growth. If some of the growth accelerates in the way we expect it to, then that's a different matter altogether. We may find ourselves back, but certainly we're not. We'll be back at a different price altogether.
Okay. We have had a few more project-based operational questions come in. Are you happy to take a few more minutes to answer those.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. What has been the reaction to the completion of the project with Nezer Interact? And are they active in promoting clean tech technologies?
Yes, that's the quick answer. The longer answer is the Middle East is an area that we are really interested in now. So we are looking at a number of projects through Saudi, Oman area, both from water, but also from other spaces as well. Water is very, very high on their priority list. They are now, for the first time, seeing what we offer, and people are becoming quite interested in how we can change the way really the fossil fuel industry is looking at its stewardship of water and recycling. So the answer is, I think this is an area where our future potential is quite large.
Can you talk to the R&D project you are doing with BHP?
This is probably not even an R&D project. It's much more, it's more D than R, in that this is just the demonstration of our rapid dewatering technology in a tailing situation. So BHP has selected us for that particular tailings, so that we can demonstrate the environmental and economic benefits that we can bring to tailage treatment and storage. And that is a program of works that we'll undertake under that TAP program.
This one's around the industry in general. Why has the clean water industry historically suffered in scale and profitability?
I missed the question. Sorry, Krista.
No problem. It's around the clean water industry.
Right.
Why has the clean water industry historically suffered in scale and profitability, including your company?
Because the value of water, in effect. So if people are not putting a value on clean water, then the industry itself suffers. I would suggest that in the past 2 to 3 years, a number of things have started to happen, which are now influencing the way the regulators are thinking about clean water. The big ones at the moment is PFAS, and those regulations which are coming into the States are going to be really critical and on how people start to think about clean water. The reason why the big multinationals are talking to us at the moment with respect to water and water recycling is exactly that. They can see that the time is coming when water is no longer going to be, shall we say, undervalued. So I don't think we should take the past as being what the future is going to hold in this clean water side. I think the future is going to be quite different.
Thank you, Peter. I will now be handing it back to you to make any closing remarks you'd like to on clean tech before we close the webinar.
No, thanks, Krista. Look, I hope I've been able to give you a little bit of a feel for what we're trying to do here at Clean Tech. Look, we have a great vision for this company. It's been around for quite some time. It's got a lot of really great technologies embedded in it. Our challenge is to get those technologies into the market. So the way we're doing that is, where's the partner who's going to help us take this into the world? So you may see a little bit of, shall we say, a difference in the way that we talk and we discuss ourselves, but deep down, remember, we are still one of the most innovative companies in Australia and probably globally in respect to the separations and filtration technologies that we're bringing. So hopefully, as a shareholder, you can come with us on this journey, and I'm always interested to hear your thoughts, and let's hope that what happens in the next 12 months says that this vision and our mission is really worthwhile and we can accomplish it. So thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Peter. This concludes today's investor webinar discussing the SPP. The recording of this webinar will be available on CleanTech's website on the investors page in the coming days. If you do have a question that we were unable to get to today, please email us at the address on the bottom of the ASX announcement or on the registration email that was sent to you. Thank you.